you see that?
Yes.
Did you, other than the blood on Ms. Heard's lip, do you recall seeing any other injuries to her on that date?
I don't recall other than what I state.
Do you recall examining Ms. Heard's lip at all?
I don't think I examined it other than a visual examination. I didn't physically examine her lip.
The note says here, client also stated her head is bruised and that she lost clumps of hair in altercation. RN briefly looked at client's scalp, but was unable to visualize hematomas client had described. Is that what you wrote in your note?
Yes.
If you had observed the bruises or hematomas that Ms. Heard had described, would that have been reflected in your note?
Would assume, but again, I'm not trained in looking for those types of injuries, which is why my note continues that I encourage her to be seen by a professional that is trained to do so.
Can we drop down to the next page? And this is just the end portion of this note. It says here, RN reminds client to hydrate with oral fluids and to limit abstain from alcohol. Client was consuming red wine when with RN left, but assured RN she would consume in moderation. Is that what you wrote in your note?
It is, and I believe I miswrote there. Probably it should say client was consuming red wine when RN left, not with, just to clarify.
Why would you advise Ms. Heard on this occasion to limit, or why did you advise Ms. Heard to limit or abstain from alcohol on this occasion?
I don't recall why I would be speaking to limit or abstain from alcohol on this occasion.
To confirm, based on your nursing notes, you were aware that Ms. Heard claimed to have been injured by Mr. Depp in December of 2015, right?
Correct.
And you went and actually saw her shortly after that alleged incident, correct?
Not that same day, but possibly the following day, I believe.
And you, on that occasion, you observed that she had a bloody lip, correct?
Correct.
And she told you that that was a result of the altercation with Mr. Depp, right?
Right.
If she had had any other injuries on that occasion, would you have recorded them in your nursing notes?
I make that assumption based upon my other notes that reference the blood on her lip.
Could we go back to Exhibit 2 in the nursing notes for April 21st, 2016? Which was this number? Which is on case number 16957. Where it says, RN socialized with JD for 45 minutes. JD appeared coherent, oriented, and sociable, thought process logical and clear. Do you have any reason to doubt that that's accurate? That's an accurate description of Mr. Depp on that date?
Jessica, I apologize. Can you just use your cursor to help me see the note that you were just reading?
Sure. Sorry, I actually don't have control of it, but it's down towards the middle. It says RN socialized with JD at times 45 minutes. JD appeared coherent, oriented, and sociable.
Oh, yes, I see it. Thank you.
Thought process logical and clear. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm sorry, what was your question regarding that?
Do you have any reason to doubt that that's an accurate description of how Mr. Depp appeared to you on April 21st, 2016?
I have no reason to doubt it. I would stand by my notes.
You knew that Mr. Depp was being treated for substance abuse issues by Dr. Kipper and Nurse Deputy Lloyd, correct?
Yes.
If Mr. Depp had appeared intoxicated on this occasion, is that something that you would have documented?
If it had been outwardly visible for either client, I would have made reference to that.
If we could go back to the nursing notes, Exhibit 2, please. And if we could go down to the entry for May 11th. Ms. Falati, we looked at this. You looked at this entry earlier today, correct?
Correct.
Directing your attention to just a couple lines down, it says, client discussed her birthday trip to Coachella Music Festival. Trip was April 22nd, 2016 through April 24th, 2016. Client admits to illicit drug use during the trip and states she ingested mushrooms and MDMA simultaneously while also consuming alcohol, and states she vomited and was, quote, high for at least 24 hours straight, end quote. Do you see that?
Yes, I do see that.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Do you recall, well, first of all, do you recall Ms. Hurd relaying this to you? Did I read that correctly?
I don't recall these specifics that I see here in the note.
Do you recall?
I remember sort of a conversation talking about the trip after they had returned.
And this starts out, client admits to illicit drug use. So am I correct that this is, based on these notes, this is something Ms. Hurd reported to you directly?
Again, I don't remember these specifics. However, my usage of client admits refers to the client reporting something to me.
Had Ms. Hurd ever admitted to illicit drug use to you before this time?
I believe in reference to my nursing notes from when I first met her, she alluded to previous substance use.
It says here, RN reminded client that illicit drug use will not be tolerated by medical staff and that any medications or drugs that are not prescribed can interfere and cause adverse effects with her prescribed medication. Client laughed and also reported using illicit drugs, mushrooms, and MDMA on May 9th, 2016, at home with a high-profile male acquaintance. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Do you recall Ms. Hurd laughing in response to your reminder about illicit drug use?
No, I don't recall that.
In your time caring for Ms. Hurd, did you ever see Mr. Depp physically abuse her? Did you ever see Ms. Hurd physically abuse Mr. Depp? Did you ever see Ms. Hurd throw anything at Mr. Depp in the time that you cared for her?
No, I did not witness that.
In the time that you treated her, did you ever see Ms. Hurd lose her temper?
As we talked about previously, the one incident that I can remember is in London, 2014. Yes, 2014, in regards to her phone being hacked and sensitive material being leaked.
Did you ever feel that Ms. Heard was hostile towards you at any time during your treatment of her?
No.
Did you ever feel like she was ignoring attempts by you to contact her?
Yes, I have a general memory of not often, excuse me, I misspoke, of that happening on more than one occasion where I would reach out and not get a response. I remember feeling frustrated by that.
When had you treated domestic violence victims prior to this time?
The time that I worked with them was in nursing school. I don't want to say the specific place for confidentiality reasons, but it was for domestic violence victims. Sort of a safe house.
Ms. Falati, do you remember when you were treating Ms. Heard, at some point she had a cyst on her eyelid?
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Okay. And do you remember that you had a procedure to have that cyst removed?
Yes.
And was that a surgical procedure to your recollection?
From what I recall, that was handled at an outpatient surgical center. Other than that, I don't know the details of that specific process.
Do you recall whether Ms. Heard had any marks around her eye after having that procedure?
I don't recall. I remember a topical ointment being applied, but I don't recall if there were marks on her eye or not.
At this point, the questioning switches back to counsel for Ms. Heard.
All right, thank you.
Do you say Falati 93?
Yes.
Okay. And this is another picture of Amber from May 21st, 2016.
Correct. This is a picture of Ms. Heard.
And Amber sent you this text on May 21st, 2016.
I believe so, based on the timestamp.
And the same for this picture on the next page. Amber sent you this picture of her.
Correct.
And the same for this page, the next page. Amber sent you this picture of her on May 21st.
Yes.
When you saw Amber on December 17th, 2015, and you spoke about that, how long were you with her? Do you recall?
Don't recall. I would assume, based on the fact that I stopped by briefly, maybe an hour or two.
Okay. Did you go inside her house, or were you outside the door?
From what I recall, I was inside
Okay.
the penthouse, yes.
By the way, when you saw Amber on December 17th, was she wearing makeup or not? Do you recall?
I don't recall. Yeah, I don't recall.
All right, thank you. Before we get to the next witness, could I have counsel approach on the plaintiff's 46? All right. So plaintiff 46 is in evidence. Your next witness? Yes,
Yes,
Mr.
Your
Nixon?
Honor. Plaintiff calls Michael Spindler.
All right, Mr. Spindler? Yes.
Swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case and penalty of law. I do.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Would you state your name for the record?
Michael Spindler.
Where do you live?
I live in the Los Angeles, California area.
What's your occupation?
I'm a forensic accountant.
What do you mean by forensic accountant?
Well, a forensic accountant does accounting work that is a bit more investigative in nature. So it's essentially taking a look at business records and accounting records in connection with some form of business issue.
How long have you worked in that field?
I've been a forensic accountant full-time since 1990.
What did you do before that?
Before that, I spent about 10 years doing auditing of financial statements.
Can you describe your educational background?
Yes, I graduated in 1981 from the State University of New York at Albany with a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting and a minor in economics.
Are you currently employed?
I am.
Who's your employer?
B. Riley Advisory Services.
What's B. Riley Advisory Services?
It's a national forensic accounting boutique firm that does forensic accounting, business valuations and appraisals, and bankruptcy and restructuring work.
How long have you been employed at B. Riley?
Since January of 2015.
What did you do for work prior to B. Riley?
Well, it's a long career, so I'll give you the highlights. I spent about 30 years with national accounting firms as partner at 2 different firms, and also was involved with a couple of forensic accounting boutique firms.
Okay. Do you hold any certifications?
I do.
What are they?
I'm a certified public accountant with licenses from 6 states: New York, California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, and Hawaii. I'm also certified in financial forensics. I'm a certified fraud examiner. I'm accredited in business valuation and a certified anti-money laundering specialist.
Do you participate in any professional organizations?
I do.
What are those?
Well, I've had leadership positions in a couple of them. I'll mention the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I was the president of the Los Angeles chapter, and I'm currently on their board. I've been actively involved with the California Society of CPAs. I was the president of the Los Angeles chapter. It had 11,000 members at the time. Was also on Cal CPA Council, which is kind of their board of directors, and also member of the board of trustees of the Cal CPA Education Foundation.
Have you testified as an expert before?
I have.
Approximately how many times?
About 100 times, roughly. About half of that in trials and arbitrations.
What's your typical role in those cases?
Typically, it can take a number of forms, but commonly I will testify with respect to damages.
Have you done any film industry work?
Yes, I have.
What was that?
I've done work involving all the major film studios. I've also done work on behalf of writers, directors, producers, actors, studio executives.